or you're going to have dry fruits. Fleshy, dry. Okay. All right. If you have a fleshy fruit, think of any fruit that you're going to eat that's going to be nice and thick and juicy. That's a fleshy fruit. So, what are some fleshy fruits?
An apple.
Apples. Oranges. Peaches.
Pears.
Pears. Okay, those are all fleshy fruits.
So fleshy.
If there isn't any flesh or juiciness to that fruit, it's going to be a dry fruit. Peanuts are dry fruits. Okay, what else are dry fruits? Peas are dry fruits. Okay, the acorns are a dry fruit. Okay, all right, so back to fleshy fruits. Pretty much everything, the whole kind of part of a fruit, the ovary that ripens, we are going to call it the pericarp. The pericarp is kind of every part of that ovary that ripens. So, if you've ever grown anything, if you've grown blackberries or strawberries or any vegetable fruits in your garden, I'll say vegetable garden, but in your garden, you're going to notice that once fertilization takes place, you're going to notice that the ovary is going to start to swell up. And the petals and the stamens fall off because they're not needed anymore, correct? And then what you're going to get is you're going to get this very swollen ovary that's going to mature. And when it's mature, it's ready to eat. Okay? The whole thing, the whole kind of mature ovary is called the pericarp. That's the part of the ovary that has different parts to it that you are going to consume.
So would that be like a whole apple?
The whole apple would be the part, we would call that the pericarp.
Okay.
It's 3 layers.
So just a whole piece of fruit is a pericarp?
It's got 3 layers to it, yes. The pericarp has 3 layers to it. So yes, it would be the whole piece of fruit. It's going to vary on what those 3 layers look like. All right, so your pericarp is going to be 3 things. It's going to be your exocarp. It's going to be your mesocarp. And it's going to be your endocarp.
That kind of sounds familiar.
Now look, this is going to be different for everything, okay? So dry fruits are going to have this. Fleshy fruits are going to have this. But not all fleshy fruits are created equal, and not all dry fruits are created equal, okay? They all look different, right? So, I'm going to show you 3 typical layers of a typical fleshy fruit. And this is the only one you're going to have to know, okay? So look, I will give you a contrast to it. So we're going to learn these 3 layers on the peach, okay? So think peaches, think plums, think nectarines, anything that's got a pit in it. This is going to be our 3 typical layers. I will give you some contrast as well, yes.
Could it be like an avocado too?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely, avocado. All right? The very outer covering or rind of the fruit is the exocarp. So, avocado. That you don't eat. Okay? That tomato back there has an exocarp. All right? That apple has an exocarp, but it's going to look a little bit different. Okay? Because it's on the very inside of the core. It's not the fleshy part that you eat. So again, not all fruits are created equal. Okay, I'm going to tell you a minute here. Okay. All right. The fleshy part of that peach, plum, avocado, nectarine that you're eating is mesocarp. Okay? And so he's labeled here as number 2. And number 3 is the endocarp. This peach, if I were to take this pit out and let it dry, a little seed is inside here, right? Have you ever seen one of these dried and you can rattle it, right? You hear it, maybe. Okay, you let it sit out. So the part that you see on the outside here is the endocarp. The inside part that's been allowed to dry and that rattles, that's the actual seed. Okay, so the actual seed is in here. Now, do you plant this whole thing if you want to make a cherry tree? Obviously not. But a peach tree, you plant this whole thing, right? And the seed would pop out, okay? So, if you wanted to make, a cherry is a good example of another one that's got a pit in it, right? The pericarp, or excuse me, the exocarp would be the outside of the cherry. The fleshy middle part that you eat of the cherry would be the mesocarp. And the very outside of the pit would be the endocarp of that cherry, okay? All right, it differs when you get to certain fruits. Again, not all fruits are created equal, okay? The apple. When you eat an apple, you are not eating the ovary, okay? So I'm only going to have you know it on a typical fruit like a peach, okay? Because it's easy. You got the outer covering, you got the middle fleshy part, and you got the inner part, okay? That's easy. This gets tricky. The part of this apple that you eat is actually called the receptacle. It's actually the bottom of the flower. The bottom of the flower swells up. The ovary is the core of the apple. And we don't eat that, correct? Can you eat it? Mm-hmm. You can.
Isn't there arsenic in it?
There's supposed to be a tiny amount of like cyanide in some of these seeds and things. You'd have to eat gallons of them for it to be poisonous. Eating one apple core with a couple of apple seeds is not going to kill you. All right, so notice I've got this little part of the apple and it makes a star, right? But look at the drawing that you have. It's a very poor drawing. But when you cut an apple this way, longitudinally, you can see it doesn't quite look like this. It looks a little bit different, doesn't it? You cut an apple open. Okay, there's your apple, right? And if I'm going to cut my apple this way, okay, so there's my little stem, right? Got it? Okay. You can kind of see that it looks like this in the core and the center, right? Is it kind of, you can kind of trace the outline and think about the next time you open up an apple. This part right here is the actual ovary. This very outer part would be the exocarp. The middle part of the core that you don't eat is the mesocarp. And where you have your little tiny apple seeds would be the endocarp. So it looks a little different, doesn't it? Look at the tomato. The tomato's got a nice exocarp, right? When you get inside, you've got the compartments that are the grainy flesh and then the slimy seeds, right? Looks a little different. Oranges look a little different, don't they? The exocarp of an orange is the rind. The mesocarp is actually the sections of the orange. So it starts to get a little bit different based on the looks of the fruit, right? So we're keeping it simple. And I'm only having you learn the 3 layers of that peach. Got it? So it's easy. You get into a botany class, you'll be labeling fruits and their exo, meso, and endocarps all day long. You get into dry fruits, you can do that there as well. For here, just make sure that you just think about, typically in your mind, the very outer part of the fruit is the rind, or the peel, which is the exocarp. Typically speaking, the fleshy part that you eat is the mesocarp. And again, typically speaking, the endocarp will be the very outer covering of where the seed is going to be contained. Make sense?
Yes.
So we're going to keep it simple on that one, okay? But there's lots of variations, okay? So, with that, that's fleshy fruits. Dry fruits, obviously, do not have any juiciness to them. We talked about peanuts, walnuts, acorns, all your nuts, all your peas. Those are all going to be dry fruits. Yes?
What are grains classified as?
It's a dry fruit. It's a dry fruit. Now, dry fruits can do something or not. They can split open or they do not split open at a seam. Okay? If you split open, you are called dehiscent. Okay? And dehiscent is not as easy to spell as you might think. I have to look it up. Dehiscent is dehiscent. Dehiscent means it splits open. Do peas split open naturally if you leave them on the vine?
Yeah.
Yes, they will. And they will split at how many seams? Think about a pea pod. 2. Okay? This guy here, okay, this is milkweed. And I want you to notice, he splits open. How many places does he split open at? 1 place. Okay, so you can split open at 1 seam and open up this way, or you can split it 2 seams like a pea would. Okay?
Does a peanut split
A
open?
peanut
also?
splits open. Yes, it does. At 2 seams. Some of our fruits don't split open. Wheat over here does not split open. So we call it indehiscent. Wheat doesn't split open at a seam, does it? Okay, it doesn't pop out. A whole bunch of peas or peanuts don't pop out of it, right? So it's indehiscent. Now, I'm going to give you a hint when you start to classify these things. I didn't tell the other class this, I just forgot. It didn't affect them, they still got it right, but I'm going to tell you, I want to make a point of saying it. Sunflower seeds. What do you think they are, dehiscent or indehiscent? They're indehiscent. They don't split open. You split them open, okay, to get to the kernel inside, right? These do not naturally split open, so keep that in mind. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to use a dichotomous key and you are going to classify your fruits. Now what we've done is these numbers do not match up to the right fruit. So what you're going to have to do is you and your group are going to have to take your card and you are going to have to kind of find the fruit that matches it. Got it? And you've got a dichotomous key. Okay?
So we have.
So you're going to go to a fruit and you're going to classify it. Okay? And you need to find the right card. Now you can holler once you figure out what yours is. Who's got this one? And y'all can bring it over.
Is it like
Okay?
6A or
So
6?
do it however you want.
Is there a difference between 6A or 6B?
No, I'm going to tell you how to use that. Yeah, y'all don't know how to use this thing yet, so hold on. I don't use it yet. All right, so here's what we're